So what's your name and where do you live?
My name is Melody and I live in Tennessee.
And how long did you have your clutter challenge before you started looking for help?
Most of my life I've had some level of a clutter challenge.
So what made you want to deal with your clutter challenge, given how long you'd had it?
It was getting unmanageable, and I had gotten to a point in my life where I thought I've got some time to work on it, so it seemed like a good time to do something with it. And I also realized that it was getting worse, and I didn't want it to continue to become worse and worse until it was a really major problem.
So what made clutter clearing in particular stand out from any other help options that you found?
Well, a lot of the options out there are just to like help you get rid of stuff and minimize and those kinds of things, but they don't really deal with what is causing the clutter in the first place or what's making it difficult to let go of things. And if I try to do those options, it seems to me that I would just be running in circles, or like attack the problem once and then it just comes back, or never actually be able to get to the end of it. Where with the journey, it seemed like there was going to actually be a solution, because I would find out the reason for the clutter and would be able to work through it and figure out what was going on.
Now, you didn't immediately start with the 7-step journey. So what was the first thing you did when you found clutter clearing?
I found it kind of in a roundabout way through Facebook and then YouTube. So first I found it on YouTube and discovered that it was a thing. It took me a long time to make a decision on it, because it was going to be expensive for me, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can afford this. Let me see if it seems like it's going to be useful for me. So I watched all the YouTube videos. I was like, I'll see what I can do with just the YouTube. Maybe I can manage it with just that. And what I learned by watching the YouTube was that there was a lot of really good information that was really helpful to me, but there was a lot more that I knew was there that was going to be able to get me, because I was able to get a certain, like, to get to a certain point and to realize that it was helpful, but there were still some walls that I was running into, and I realized I was going to need a little bit more personalized help, a little bit more, I guess the routine and the accountability side of it was going to be important for me too.
So you're currently on your 7-step journey, which is the 2-year part-time Clutter College course. What was it like living with your clutter before you started your journey?
For a long time I tried to ignore it, and I really wasn't at a place to deal with it yet, because there were other things I was dealing with. But yeah, I mean, it was there, and it was kind of, I tried to keep it hidden, tried to keep it in my own private spaces, because at that time I had roommates. So I would keep it shoved away in closets or in my bedroom, and my bedroom was a like serious mess. The garage, the porch, those areas where they're not really so much of common areas, people aren't going to be seeing them as much. Those were the areas that were really cluttered. My living room, you know, guests came into my living room and I was fine. For the most part, there were little bits of stuff here and there, but they were mostly pushed under and hidden away. But my private areas of my home were just like hard to walk through, and I would go in there and feel overwhelmed by it. I was like, oh, I want to take care of this, but I don't even know where to start, and it was just too overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do.
So what was it that made you decide to start your journey?
I guess I kind of already said this. This is just realizing that I was at a point in my life where I would be able to spend the time on it and put the emotional energy into it to really do it all the way, and not just kind of like a surface fix for now, but to actually work on it.
Now, lots of people struggle to accept that clearing their clutter is going to take time and patience. Once they've decided to clear their clutter, they want to do it as quickly as possible. What advice would you have for those who say they want to clear it faster than it takes on the 7-step journey?
If you try to go too fast, you're not going to be able to get as much out of it, because, like, for me, if I try to go too fast, I'll just get overwhelmed and quit. But if I take my time and just take it one step at a time, then I'm going to be able to be successful. And it might seem like it takes forever, but it takes a whole lot less time than starting and quitting, starting and quitting, starting and quitting, because then you never actually get there. But if you just can go a little bit at a time, you make progress, steady progress, and eventually you'll get there.
Now you've started step 2, where you're doing clutter clearing sessions. Yeah. So how has the journey and the clutter clearing sessions made clearing your clutter easier than how you've tried to do it before?
Knowing what's going on makes it where I can be a lot easier on myself when I see that I'm struggling with something. So I'm not going to beat myself up, and I'm a lot less likely to quit. And I'm learning some tools for making decisions and being able to let go of things that I haven't been able to do in the past. So it's still a process. I'm only on step 2 out of 7, so I've got a lot of learning to go, but I can see that I've made some progress already, where I'm able to start letting go of things and start to figure out what I want to do.
So what's the best thing about being on your journey?
Best thing? Seeing things start to change a little bit. I think seeing the progress is really nice. And also I've made some new friends, which is great. Yeah.
So what's the main reason you'd recommend the 7-step journey?
Because I think that it's going to work. Usually I recommend things that I think will work.
Always good. And what are you most proud of achieving while you've been on your journey so far?
Well, I moved during the end of step 1, and that was a big deal. That was really hard, and I'm really proud of not quitting while I was in the middle of that and continuing through so that I could get to step 2 where I'm at now.
And finally, what advice would you give anyone who's looking for help with their clutter?
If you have clutter and you need help, get help, because that's going to make it possible to do something about it. If you try to do it on your own, if you've tried to do it on your own already and not been successful, then there's no reason to be ashamed for getting help, because if we haven't learned something yet, then we can't just know it, and we have to get help to be able to learn it. And there's no shame in that. It's perfectly acceptable and normal to need help.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Melody.